So we wanted to do that in honor for Mother's Day. Just finding success as a mom in the workforce, not just moms. I'm a mom T, right? So I'm a auntie of almost 10 nieces and nephews. Number 10 is baking as we speak. She's due in a few weeks. And it really is a lot about just as womenpreneurs, right? How do you show up and try to have it all, to be there for the home life, to be there for the work life, and still have a successful career without the guilt, right? So we're excited to kind of talk about that today. Chris is going to be leading that conversation. And we have special guest, Xochitl Rodriguez. So I'm gonna let you like do your joke about how to pronounce your name. And she is a licensed professional counselor. She's a fellow Maxwell coach. That's actually how we met in Orlando a couple months ago. And she specializes in mental health for parents and teens. So she's going to be able to bring in a little bit of a professional perspective of maybe how to navigate some of those challenges. And we want this to be an open space. So I'll keep an eye on the Facebook because we are live streaming into our group. So if there's questions or things like that, it is being recorded, like you probably just heard. And we will upload the recording into that monthly mastermind folder that we have through our Real Estate Operations Institute website. And so with that, I'm going to kick it over to you, Carissa.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm a little stuffy, guys, so just bear with me, but that's life for you. And again, it's pronounced Zoshi.
So I used to teach high school, and my high school kids used to call me, "You're so chill, like you're such a chill teacher." And so chill, it's how I can explain it to people. Like I'm so chill, so they can remember it. So it's so chill, yes. So
Okay.
chill, yes.
Yes, ma'am. I thought I would get my name messed up all the time growing up. Everybody used to call me Clarissa. Listen, I will take it over. I can't even imagine how many times people mess up your name. So
About 15, 16 times a day, yes.
at least
Yeah.
minimum, right?
Hey,
So
I
I
get
really,
Yoshi sometimes from my Hispanic friends because the J can be harder for them to pronounce. So Yoshi, like the little green dinosaur from Super
Mhm.
Mario Brothers. Yeah, that's yeah.
well, that makes a lot of sense because Yoshi was always my favorite. So I'm just saying.
There you go. There you go. Anything that helps.
Yes. Well, I so appreciate you being here. As soon as Josie told me about you, I already loved you and knew that you would be a great part of our community. So thank you again for being here. I am going to go ahead. I'm going to pull up my screen and share my screen and get started for y'all so we can kick this off and go into presentation mode. Um, Here we go. Can y'all see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So again, this is really going to be just a conversation. So I am super grateful that whoever's on here, if you want to get in, talk about whatever. This is open forum. This is non-judgment. I was joking about it a couple minutes ago with the girls saying like we listen, but we don't judge, because that's exactly what this is. If you are on here and you're a mom, auntie mom, a grandma mom, whatever it is, like if you are balancing working and any type of children in your life, um, we just want to hear how you're navigating through it. And we don't want you to feel alone on an island, essentially. So we're going to go ahead and get kick started here. All right, so we kind of welcomed everybody. Really, we would just want to create an environment where we are normalizing and letting you know it is okay to be completely successful in your business and completely successful at home. You don't have to operate in two, it's not two different worlds. This is one world put together, and you're just figuring out the balance that works for you, not what works for your cousins, brothers, sisters, dog-in-law, or the person you see on social media, or just because your best friend is a stay-at-home mom. That's not the gold standard, like, because that's what we hear a lot. Like the gold standard for being a great mom is you stay at home and you cook clean and make sure that their lunches are packed every day and all of those false expectations, I want to say. You know, they're stereotypes, but they're just false. They're really false because you
Maybe
create.
dated expectations might be a better way of saying, because this isn't 1950s anymore, and so you don't have to only just be from Mad Men. Oh, I wish I could remember her name, but like the perfect housewife and perfect house mom and things like that. Like you can step out into the workforce and still be present for the home life.
I think the
Yeah.
most perfect mom is the messy, the one that, that has it all, like everything is everywhere. And I used to think, and I got this a lot growing up, being ambitious and being very career oriented. I was like, you have a lot of masculine energy. You have a lot of masculine energy. I was like, no, I'm still a girl. But it's just if I'm powerful and that you want to call it masculine energy, that's but that's not how I see it. It's just
Right.
I'm just a girl that's very ambitious and career oriented. And I read, and my kids are older now, 18 and 16, and they're wonderful. So, and I did it all.
I feel like it's almost like you just have to show up where you need to be, if that makes any sense. I know that is very vague, but it's like if they see you as masculine, it's because you had to show up in that position at that moment. But don't get it twisted because I'm as soft as and feminine on this side when I feel like I don't have to show up there. So like there's a meme going around, I don't know if it's called a meme, reel, whatever you want to call it, on social media where it's like it's a viral one now where you see a bunch of women doing when my wife is home alone, and you see her picking up the couch and vacuuming under the couch, and then when the husband's home it's like, babe, I can't carry in the groceries. It's like it's balance. It's like, okay, I say it to all the time. I can do it, but I shouldn't have to do it, be everything all the time. And that's really what it's about. So I hear what you're saying because I've gotten it too. Like, um, all the time people are like, is there something you can't do? No, there's nothing I can't do. I can do everything. Do I want to? No. Do I
Now I
want to?
choose what I want to do. Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and really today I just want it to be about just talking about some of, again, the stereotypes, but also what do we do to get through it? Like, how do we undo some of those preconceived notions that were built into us to make us feel a certain way? And how do we take back that control and know that we're doing the best we can do? We're doing a great job. And even when we're struggling, we're still doing a great job because we're here and we're in the moment. So, um,
Yeah, I know for me, motherhood was never easy. Like I always thought, um, like, is this for me? Is this, and I felt a lot of guilt around that, but it was hard because I wanted to do it right. It was difficult because I wanted to do everything for me, first of all, and then for show up for my kids that way. So if it's hard, it's because you're probably worried about you doing it right and you're balancing your career and demanding job and the kids and the lunches and the schedules and all of that. So
so you just said something that I want to dig deeper into. So you said you wanted to do it right.
mhm.
What, where did that right come from? Like, how did you know what right was? Because we're
Mhm.
all born into this earth and like we see that moms do things differently and in different cultures and countries and religions. So what did you think was right?
Right. So before a little bit of my history, I mean, as Josie said in the beginning, I'm a licensed professional counselor. So I've been a therapist for 15 years. And throughout that time in the beginning, I was an educator. So I had a little bit of training, not to be a mom, but I had a little bit of psychology training and things like that, that I knew I wanted to have a good connection with my kids. I knew that I could see my mom going through the mom guilt and playing I sacrificed everything for you, and I felt like I carried that burden. And God bless my mother, is nothing against her, it's just what it was taught to her. So I knew that I wanted to equip my kids and give them all the tools to be the best version of themselves so that they can define their own success. They can define whether they wanted to be stay-home moms, whether they want to be professionals, whether they want to be astronauts, whatever they wanted to do. I didn't want to stand in the way because a lot of the times I felt like there was a burden on me to because I was my mom's happiness. And my mom was like, you're my happiness, you're my everything. And that's a lot of that's a lot to carry for a child. And so I wanted to, there were some things that I was very aware because of my training as an educator and as a counselor. I was very aware of some of the effects that that has on, raising children. So like I said, I wanted to do it right. And I didn't know if I was doing it. I still don't know if I'm doing it right until my kids are like 30 and they end up having their own kids or their own career, but I have very good connection with my kids, and that's the thing that I'm proud of. We have very open communication. So, but it wasn't easy. It came with, a lot of tears, reading a lot of books and doing a lot of training and things like that. But it's just that connection that I wanted to have with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you said that because it emphasizes the pressure that you feel from your parents, but then in return, on realizing it, we end up sometimes maybe putting that same pressure down on the generation that's behind us, right? And it's just this cycle, and yet how do you break that cycle, right? So that it's not just this kind of then it becomes this reverse guilt because now you're like, well, did I live up to my mom's expectations? Do I make her proud? Right? Because maybe you did choose a different path than what she might have wanted for you, especially if it was like, I want you to marry some, I'm sure a lot of us have heard this, marry someone rich, educated, right? Like, and so that he can take care of you. And then you go bring me some grandbabies, right?
Yeah.
And then, like I said, that cycle of pressure and guilt, and it just becomes a lot. It does.
And
Yeah.
it's a daily choice.
Hmm.
Daily choice that we have to remember. Yeah.
It really is. And my question to you is how, besides, okay, you obviously were put in a great position, or you put yourself, I should say, in a great position to be able to undo some of those preconceived notions or expectations that our parents and prior generations have put on us as women in on this earth. Um, how did you cope with that? And when I say cope with that, the judgment. So I'm gonna say it straight up. A lot of our family members are the culprit behind the what we feel in our heads as moms. Like, and I will say this to my mom's face. One of the things, like, I grew up in an Italian Catholic household in New York, and it was very much so like the mom stayed home, the mom took care of the kids, the mom prioritized the children, the husband worked, and dinner was supposed to be on the table at 5 o'clock. Lunches were packed for not only the kids, but the husband. And so when my mom moved into my house with me, and she knew I was different. I mean, I was built different, like literally,
Right.
I was built different. She knew I was different, but the thing that she came in and she was like, "You don't make your husband's lunch?" I said, "Hell no, I don't make his lunch." I said, "He don't make my lunch." I said, "I work just as much, if not more than him, and he's not making my lunch. So why would, like, if he asked me to, I would." I'm not that person who's like, if he's like, "Hey babe, can you make my lunch?" I'll make it. The same he would do for me. And so
Mhm.
my mom started making my husband's lunch every day. And so there was a lot of pivotal moments. How did you take that out of your brain without feeling guilt? Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you throw that away and say, just because she's judging me, maybe, how do I just continue on my own path and know that I'm doing right?
Yeah. So, and like I said before, it's a daily show. And if anybody else wants to chime in, if they've gone through this too, like feel more than welcome. For me, it was like I kept reminding my mom and this, because my mom would iron my ex-husband's shirts because I was a bad wife for not ironing his shirts. So I was like, no, they're fresh out of the dryer, so you're fine. But it was like, and I will remind,
Febreze on it, right? Throw a
yeah,
little Febreze on it.
hey, yeah, he's fine. But I will remind my mom, you always advocated for me to be educated, to make my own money, to do what I needed to do to be independent, whether I had a good husband or not, which I had a very good husband for 22 years who provided, but I still wanted to have my own dreams and my own career. And so I had to remind my mom, we had this conversation like last week. I'm serious. Like my kids are 18 and 16. But it was like I have to remind, like you taught me how to be independent. You taught me how to, look out for myself and things like that because she was alone most of the time and she didn't want that to happen to us. So it was reminding her of like, well, this is how it looks. Like I understand that you've never done it before. You never had a demanding job or a career. And I said, but this is what it looks like. Like and just going back, I started therapy very young just to make sure that I was on the right track. So I would doubt myself a lot. You know, even as an educator and as a therapist, I was going through grad school and my therapist was my then professor. And or she was my confidant. And so it was just reassuring myself that I was doing the right thing and equipping my children with the right tools that they needed and leaving those things behind. And I felt it not only from my mom, but and then when my kids started doing like sports and things like that from the other moms, like I would send their dad to their cheer competition or whatever, and the moms would call me like, "Are you okay? Why are you not here?" I was like, "He's the dad. He's fine." He's like, "Do you want me to take care of her?" No, he can take care of her. So it's not just the family, but it's just those moms around you that, you know, if you want to do things that way, that's fine. But just this is the way that we run our house. And my ex-husband didn't mind because we both had an understanding. We were both professionals. And so, but it was a struggle. And like I said, it was a daily choice. And many nights that I went to bed crying and feeling guilty and then praying and a lot of prayer and a lot of guidance and just doing things with love.
Yeah. No, I love that. Anybody else have similar, want to chime in? Are you dealing with it? I mean, again, this is open, so
Mhm.
it's
And it ties a lot to the myths that you have up on the screen too, for what
yes.
Xochitl was just talking about.
Yeah, and it is. It's like internalizing that guilt around having childcare. Like who's watching your child? Val, you have something? I see you pop on. Hey, Val.
Hi, everybody. So, yeah, so for me, there's a constant, there's definitely a constant struggle between um, being there for my children and being there for my business, right? And so there are, because I know I have those decisions and I constantly kind of have that tug going on, um, then um, there are other things that I've learned that I have to release. Like there's only so many tugs that I can have, right? And
Mhm.
um, so I have someone that comes in and cleans my house once a week, right? Because that's a tug that I just cannot afford, right? I have someone now that comes in and helps me fold and do laundry, like because that's just a tug I just cannot afford. I need a space that's clear enough for me to be able to think and to move and feel happy in my environment, right? So those are things that I've just kind of had to release and have gotten my husband on board with because yes, this is what needs to happen for this thing, like for this to all make sense and for me to be sane, right? Um, and then there's things that yes, there's still guilt about, like I can't be in two places at once. Unfortunately I can't make this track meet today, but I'll make the next one, right? And so that means I'll have to sacrifice and pay for somebody else to show a property one day, or so that I can show up for like so. But I've learned to just have to be okay with making those choices. So like and so feeling empowered to be able to make the choice and say, okay, well, uh, today this weekend is going to be a family weekend, and I'm just going to have to do what I'm going to need to do to make that make sense. Or this weekend is a business weekend, it's a work weekend, and hubby's going to have to step in, step up. I'm going to have to miss a game, or I'm going to have to do this because this is just you know the decision that I'm making. So we have to give ourselves a lot of grace to make the decision and just be okay with it because we're not going to be everywhere at once. But I do believe that my sons, because I got three boys, that my sons will, will remember. They'll remember that I worked a lot. They will. That's just reality, right? But they'll remember that I was there too. Like
Mhm.
I do believe that. Like I wasn't there every day all the time, but I picked them up every day at school. I go to like I organize events at their school. Like I'm there. Mom, are you going to be there? Yeah, I'm going to be there. So Thanksgiving, their Christmas events, I run field day for them at the school. Like I do those things. I'm going to be at the track meet, right?
Mhm.
because I know that there are other days that I'm not gonna be able to do them. So I'm I've gotten to the point now, and it wasn't always that way where there's definitely a lot more guilt before, and but I've gotten to a point now where I'm less so once I've made a decision, because I know that I can say that I've shown up, right? And as long as I can be present when I do show up, and that's sometimes a challenge in itself, uh, being present when you show up, right? And not being on the phone and all that the whole time. But um, but I can say that I've made an effort to make memories that, and they're not going to just remember me working all the time.
Mhm.
So I'm okay with that, and then
Well,
releasing the other stuff.
you mentioned something very extremely valuable, Val, about
Yeah.
asking for help, asking for support. And you may have somebody come clean your house. And I'm not super picky at my house, but maybe they don't. And I've known women like this, like, I don't know, I want to clean a lady because she doesn't clean the house the way that I want it. But it's like, you know what? I'm gonna let that
Better
go.
than nothing.
I'm not
Yep.
gonna, I'm not gonna fight that battle. I'm gonna have somebody else come and clean
Yep.
my house, do my laundry, and I had all the things, and I had the Hello Fresh things that kind of make my dinners easier and things like that. And just talk to your children about it. It's like, you know what? I can be on these things. I cannot be on the other, and be very intentional with the time that you do spend with your kids. Yeah, very
Yeah,
good
for
point.
sure.
So.
Can I just say, I stopped this screen share because one, I want it to be easier to see everyone's faces, and we can pull that back up when we get back to it. But as a slight tangent, it brings me so much joy to have three of my favorite women on the Zoom call together. Because Val is my sister, for those who don't know. She's the rainmaker of our team in Connecticut. And she said she was going to try to be on, but that she had an appointment, so she wasn't sure. And then I have my business bestie and my conference bestie. So thank you, ladies, for kind of joining and helping with this conversation. And then to kind of emphasize two different things on what Val was just saying, right? It's the word sacrifice. I always get like a little when people say that, because for some people it's a very negative word, and I don't think like that. My brain works different. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be, right? Sacrifice is also just a choice. So you can sacrifice what was it exactly you said? Like paying someone to go do a showing, right? And it is money being spent, for example, but then the offset is that you don't have to do the showing so that you can go show up for like the track meet, for example, maybe, right? So realizing that it is okay, whether you call it a sacrifice or you call it a choice or whatever, it's okay to swap one for the other. You can hire a cleaner and not feel guilty about the fact that someone else comes in and cleans. Like I said, I don't have the kids, and I still have cleaners run through every so often because I still run three different
Yeah. I
businesses,
don't
and
feel guilty.
I'm exhausted and all the things sometimes. And I'm also helping pay for another small business owner to continue to be in
I was
business.
just
So I
gonna
have no
add that,
shame in
yeah.
that, right?
I was gonna say,
Um,
like, your sacrifice actually helps somebody else because you're taking away from their joy and their magic by trying to do it all. Like,
right.
nobody judges you for going to get your hair done. Like, when I go get my hair cut, nobody questions me. If I tell somebody I'm getting my house clean, all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, you pay for someone to clean your house?" Yeah, because spending 6 hours cleaning my house is not the highest and best use of my time, first of all. And it's the same thing with my hair. Like, I'm not going to spend 4 hours doing my hair when I can pay someone $150 to do my hair. So it's just you showing up where your highest and best power is at that moment in your life. And so it's not so much, I get what you're saying, the sacrifice has a negative connotation, but that sacrifice allows someone else. Think about that. It allows someone else to thrive
Right.
in their
Right.
power.
Right. And you're just
So
sacrificing something that is not necessarily the best use of your time or joy for something that is, right? I remember one of our regional brokers a long time ago had used the example of like mowing. He used to love to mow his lawn until he bought a house where the lawn, I think, was like 4 acres, like the yard. And then after he was out there one day mowing the lawn for like 4 hours or whatever it was, he's like, nope. I'm over it. And after that was the last time he ever did that, because he's like, it's a beautiful Saturday. I could be enjoying it with my family, but I'm out here like, and I think he was allergic to grass. So like moving forward, he'd hired someone to do that for him because he realized like yes, I kind of enjoy it, but I would enjoy more spending that same time with my family, right? And so that's what I would want all the ladies, the moms, the entrepreneurs, right, to kind of get that message. The other part for what Val was saying, and I don't know if it was one of the boys or it might have been a different team member and her son who said this, but he was like asking like, well, how many houses did you sell this year, right? Because he knew that the house equated like a family trip that was supposed to be coming up at the end of the year. And so he was helping to like motivate, not hold accountable, but just kind of motivate. And he didn't feel bad, that mom was like out doing all the things because he's like, mom is earning some money for us to be able to go to whatever the trip was. Like I said, I don't know if it was my nephews or someone else, but that too, right? So the children aren't necessarily only just being like, well, yeah, my mom can't be at my game or my mom can't, like whatever, because they also, if you relay the message the right way, right? They will also remember that that was why you were working so hard because you provided these experiences for them and these opportunities that they know that their classmates probably don't have as much in some
So,
instances.
I actually just highlight that a little bit too of what you're saying. I think that we don't often enough talk to our children. Like we have all this guilt, but we don't often enough talk to them about what their expectation or their hope is, right? Like, do you really even notice like how could to relieve a lot of guilt? I think sometimes it's communication, right? How can I make you feel social? Or how can I, yeah,
Val,
maybe
I love you, but
what can
you're
I
really
do?
choppy and we're getting like
Oh, am I
maybe,
choppy?
yeah, 40% or so of what you're saying.
Oh,
I'm
But yeah,
sorry.
ultimately, she was going down the same avenue I was. I heard
Right.
what she was saying is like
okay.
having that conversation and knowing what that expectation is. So, even involving them. Like I told this story a million times that, I involve my children in my business. Like they go with me to some showings, and not so much listing appointments, but when I'm working, they're with me picking up signs, lock boxes, and they know that that's part of what I do. They know that mom works every day, but not all day, every day. They also know when mom is in that moment, I'm very much in that moment. So if I'm at his soccer game, I'm at her ROTC, like I'm not in my phone answering emails. I am literally my phone. Josie knows this. I'm the worst with having my phone out because I don't take any pictures. Like I'm so in the moment, I forget to take pictures of everywhere and everything I'm doing. But having that expectation and conversation, it kind of alleviates some of that stress that we put on ourselves because we are creating a narrative that doesn't even exist sometimes.
Right.
And working through that is huge, but you can't work through it if you're not having that conversation because you don't know what's going through their brains. And what the story I was telling is my son knew that the more houses that mom sold, the more that we got to do as a family. He loves family vacations, loves them, like loves them. So I got a call from my son's school because my son was trying to sell houses. My son was bringing all my business cards and giving them out, telling his teacher that she needed to use me as a realtor and she needed to sell her house. So he was basically like strong arming everybody, and I had to have a different conversation, but it shows that he picks up the correlation of putting in work and the reward. And so I see that as a win as a mom, not so much a I'm not in the moment or not pouring into my kids. My son is taking that hard work and dedication and showing up does pay off because the lifestyle that I do provide for my family. So but the one thing I want to say to Val is, Val, I heard you say two things. You're pulled between mom and work. What I didn't hear is Val. So how do we show up for ourselves and not feel guilty? Because okay, I could show up as
Making
being
her
a
head
mom.
no while she's
Yeah,
driving.
that's
She's
it.
like, yep,
Yeah,
nope.
that's a constant struggle. So
And
that
that's something that I can we pull up the screen again because I want to
Yeah,
share.
yeah, go ahead. And she put in the chat, maybe they just need a movie night with family to fill their cup.
That's it. Like it could be something so simple, like, a date night. Like maybe it's just you take one, every, Val has 3 sons. So maybe every other week it's another son that goes on an individual date night with her and they do something, whatever they enjoy. Because I know my kids do not enjoy the same thing. But again, redefining that success on your own terms, not what works for Val may not work for me. What works for Marissa may not work for me. You know what I'm saying? So it's got to be something that works for you and your family, you and your kids. And we have to stop that comparison, because it's that comparison that really gets us depressed. Like
Yeah, imposter
social media.
syndrome for sure.
Yeah, social media. We see 5-minute blurb of someone's best moments. We don't see the struggles, the ups and downs, the arguments, the you know, we don't see that mess. We see the 5 minutes that they posted on social media of their family vacation, and then we're like, oh, we didn't have a good family vacation. I was just saying this when the three of us were on the call. Um, you look at it and you're like, they had a great family vacation. My kids were on their phones the whole time, complaining the whole time. Well, guess what? That probably happened to them too, but they didn't post it.
Right.
So
Hmm.
I'm just comparing myself to something that's not reality.
Or you don't know,
So,
they might have worked 3 jobs and truly hustled their butts off to earn that vacation, right?
mhm,
And you're not seeing that side, you're just kind of seeing the reward.
right.
And
And
sometimes the kids, all they want, like I said, I've been a therapist for teenagers. 80% of my clients have been teenagers for the last 15 years. And so what they really want, yes, of course they want the nice things and they want the vacation and things like that, but they really want to feel like they belong. They belong in your family, like they're being heard, they're being understood. 98% of the time, teenagers come to my therapy room and they're like, I just don't think my parents will understand. And it's because, and Val was touching on this, it's like it's that communication. It's like we have to communicate from, if we communicate to our kids about what our struggles and our battles are every day. And I'm not saying that they have to be our best friends, we have to tell them everything, but just kind of explain. I used to show my kids my schedule. Okay, these are my appointments. These are the days that I have to see clients. These are the days that you have practice. These are, things like that. So to open that communication, so kids just want to have that relationship with their parents. They really do. They acting, especially teenagers, they acting like they don't, but they really do look forward to that connection. Like my kids, I know that my college girl right now, she's very independent and everything, but when she needs something, it's like, Mom, and she knows she can call me and I will be right there with her. So it's that they feel supported by you. They feel like they belong and they feel they can be with themselves and they can tell you things, especially the hard things. But if you
but
don't have hard conversations with them, they're not going to have them with you.
how would you suggest, as moms, we open up that conversation without sounding scripted to them, being genuine, and just opening up to have that conversation? Because it could be no, I'm not going to say awkward, but it can be a little awkward. Like I have a 16, almost 17-year-old who does not want to talk to me about anything. I ask her, how was school? Good. What did you learn? Nothing. What do you want to do this weekend? Nothing. Like, so how do you open up that conversation to have with your child, your teenager child, whatever it is, where it is not scripted, but you are genuinely wanting to know how they feel like they can belong in the family? Like what can they contribute? What can they do, like where they will fit in without being what you want them to fit in as?
Right, right. And you have to catch him at the right time. I have my two girls, they're very different. Oldest is an introverted. She will tell you anything and everything and will talk to you 24/7, 365. My youngest one is not, so she's a little bit more reserved. She's an introverted. So a quick example is like when we used to pick her up from school, if it was dad or it was me, it was very different. When I would pick her up from school, because I understood her personality, she would get into the car. How was your day? Good. And like with that faith, because she's been exposed to so many people all day, she's done. She will get into my car, literally play Taylor Swift, blast it on, and we'll blast off Taylor Swift until we get home. And I would just sing with her, and that's it. Now, 11 o'clock at night, when she comes to the room, that's when she wants to talk. Then I'm available. And she loved that. And so when dad picked her up, dad is an extroverted, introverted, they're together. And how was your day? And this and this. And he's asking all the questions. And my daughter's like, shut up. And she didn't say that, but she wanted to. She was just frustrated. and they will bump heads so much. And knowing your kids' personalities, knowing when to ask the questions, ask open-ended questions. I have a whole thing on my online course about communication, how to ask open-ended questions, and then listen without judgment, listen without interruption, and listen without a life lesson, because we're so good as moms to any conversation to turn it into a life lesson. Well, what about this? And think about the future, and think about, you know what? They're
Or to
not
make
thinking
it about
about the
you
future.
as a
They're, yeah,
mom
exactly.
instead of
Yeah.
keeping the focus on your child. Yeah.
On the child. Yes. Yes. So, and there's ways to navigate. Some days are good. Some days are bad. Some days, some things work. Some days, the next week you might have to try something different.
Yeah. And I struggle with that. So I know that other moms probably do as well, where I make everything about me without knowing it's about me. And when I say that, it's also like when they're in a bad mood, it's like I put it on, what did I do to piss them off? What can I do to fix it? I can't be the end all be all in everything in my life, including for my kids. Like I do have to allow them to have time. Like my husband had to tell me, like, babe, like if she doesn't want to talk right now, give her time and she will come talk to you.
Right.
And I had to, I'm still battling that because it's hard because you want to be, as a self-proclaimed people pleaser, you want everybody to be in the mood you want them to be in at that moment.
And you're the mom and you want to do things right, and why are you not talking to me? What did I do to you? And you're so ungrateful. I hear that so many times. You're so ungrateful, and like, everything that I do for you, and now we're just guilt tripping our kid. And it's like, no, just give them a moment and just realize that as a teenager they might want to talk to you twice a week, not every day. They
Right.
don't. They don't, that, yes, their peers are more important to them. Absolutely. That's just a developmental, thing for teenagers. They care what other people think. Like if you tell a teenager, like, well, don't worry about what other people think. No, that's actually that's in their brain at that moment in their lives, because, and then they grow out of it. But so we do a lot of things because a lot of people don't. So when we're pregnant and they're babies, we get all the baby books, how to burp a baby, how to do this, how to do that. Maybe when they're toddlers too. By the time they're teenagers, we like, okay, we can, wing this. And most of us don't very well. And that's my experience. Like I said, from seeing thousands of, hundreds of kids in my therapy room, we don't know how they're developing, how they connect, how they communicate, because everything changes.
Yeah.
When they're teenagers, and they're building their brain at that moment, and they're learning how to regulate emotions. My kid doesn't know how to, they get upset all the time. Well, they're learning to regulate emotions. Yeah. Yeah. They're in a
It,
bad mood all the time. Yeah.
yeah.
They're a teenager. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's like it's a lot because it's like we have expectations in our brains how they should act. Like we treat them like babies, but we expect them to act like adults. And so for them to navigate in this huge area, it's like, oh, this is too much, this is too little, this is here. And it's like they're living for our expectations instead of us helping them to create those boundaries themselves so that they do become productive adults.
Yeah.
And not in the position we're in most of the time because we're dealing with our own traumas.
Yeah.
So,
And if we don't have boundaries ourselves, guess what? You can try to teach them. But if they see you that you don't have boundaries for yourself, you don't have to make time for you, you don't, things like that. And, they're not learning. You can tell them
right.
everything. You can give them all the life lessons, but if you're not doing the same thing that you're asking them to do, then
Exactly. And so that's where I was kind of going, even we circumnavigated, but where Val talked about showing up as a mom and showing up as a business owner, where do we show up for ourselves? And it is those boundaries. So I know I'm just going to share what has worked for me. And it's been about 2 years since I've been doing this consistently, and I am in such a better place mentally. The only thing I changed was my morning routine. And the morning routine, I talked about this for a little bit earlier, that I wake up earlier than the rest of my house typically. And that is my time. Like that is my time, whether I sit on the couch and drink coffee for 2 hours, whether I work out, journal, whatever that is, it's me pouring into what I need in that moment so that the rest of the day I could show up for whoever I need to show up for and not have that resentment or that guilt, because my kids are sleeping. So I'm not taking away from them. But on the flip side, even if they are awake, Sochi and I were saying like, um, being okay with having time for yourself, like letting them know it is okay to have time for yourself, because guess what? If they don't see you take time for themselves, what do you think the pattern's going to repeat? So when they get older, they're going to be battling the same thing with their children or their job, or they can't tell their boss, oh no, I'm not working late because my kid has a soccer practice or whatever it is. But figuring out where you protect that time, to me, just carving out like the morning time where it is uninterrupted time. Like nobody should be calling me at 5 o'clock in the morning to talk about a contract, right? And if they do, that's my fault for answering, because I shouldn't be answering. But having, again, going back to the expectation conversation with your children, like if mom has mom night on Thursdays and they know from, 5 to 8 o'clock, she's going to be having margaritas with the girls, like that's okay because on Saturday morning, she's at the soccer field with you. And, the biggest part is setting those hours for your business and actually sticking with it, because people respect that. They really do. Um, we put the burden on ourselves that they're not. Like, you don't expect your doctor to answer at 8 o'clock at night. If you have an emergency, you're going to go to the emergency room. But you don't get mad at your doctor because when you call the office, he doesn't answer at 8 o'clock at night. Why do we think our clients are going to get mad at us for not answering at 8 o'clock at night? Is it the expectation we set? Like, and that's where we have to create our own narrative and actually figure out what works for us, because maybe 8 o'clock at night works for you because you wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning. So, but you got to figure out what works for you and stick with it, because people treat you and show up for you the way that you will allow them to.
Exactly. The way that you treat it, you show for yourself. So if you are, the boundary line, it's a little blurry, then yeah, people are gonna walk all over you. And well, if you don't respect yourself, well, people might lose respect for you a little bit. You might not be taken seriously, or things like that. So it's a very, and I did that 5 o'clock, 4:30 a.m. wake up to go to the gym in the morning. I did that for so many years. So we're talking about sacrifice earlier. And I think the word sacrifice, yes, it has a negative connotation, but I think there's a time in life where you have to shuffle things around. So now that my kids are older and that my youngest, drives and everything, okay, now it's my gym time can be in the evening. So it was just kind of shuffling things around to reorder the schedule, not necessarily sacrifice, but just the order of the schedule is different. So I can have my own time, my meditation time in the morning, because that's what I do now. And then my workout time now is in the evening, because guess what? My kids are busy. One's in college, the other one's driving and cheer practice and stuff like that. So it's just a reshuffling of things. But definitely when they're growing up, I had the discussion with them a lot about what my schedule looked like and what they needed from me and where I could show up and where I needed to kind of, have some time for me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
love
think
that.
we're all kind of in that same position, and it's just hearing it from all, like, it's okay. This is normal. Like, this is completely normal, but we have to rewrite the narrative. We have to create the next generation to understand, like, you can be everything. You don't have to be everything all the time to everyone, but there are no limitations. You don't have to choose being a mom over being a successful business owner or entrepreneur, or even just being in the work industry, whatever that looks like for you. So I do want to make sure that if anybody has anything to say, like, I want y'all to chime in. I know we invited you all earlier. You've been a little bit quiet, but if you
Yeah,
have
raise
any,
your hand if you want to chime
yeah,
in.
I
You have any
mean,
more slides to run through?
just no, this is the
Okay,
the last one besides the last one
got it.
is
Perfect.
just, I think,
With
the
the narrative, the one thing I just wanted to add, and seriously, if there's anyone who wants to chime in, please raise your hand. Um, and it's funny, I didn't know that that was one of your slides because I did not see Chris's presentation in advance, but this is how we think alike, right? Is that concept that words matter. And just like I said about sacrifice, like using words that can help empower you as a mom, as a female entrepreneur, all the things, right? Even rather than like saying no offense, Val, this is not actually directed at you. This is just because you mentioned the word. But like rather than saying sacrifice, right? Like it's the not I have to do this. I get to do this, right? That's one of the big kind of phrases that you might have heard, people reference a lot. I think that that's important to kind of have that awareness of what is it that you're choosing to do with your time, and do you really accept it, or is there some bit of resentment? Because if there is, then you need to reshuffle, to Sochi's point, right? You need to really take a look. If there's any level of resentment that you can control, because I understand sometimes you just can't control certain things, but if it's something that was within your control, then take a look at that. Figure out, have the conversation with the partner or with your therapist or whoever, that might need to be to talk it out and figure out what can you do to get yourself in a better space, like personally and professionally. So that there isn't that level of resentment, so that you are kind of working in your purpose, so that you are thriving more and focusing more of your energy on the time and the people that you truly want to.
Exactly. So anybody else have anything they want to share? I am going to share, hold on, let me pull up my screen.
Everywhere in the narrative too, it's also about the narrative that your family has, that the other women in your house have, things like that. So it's rewriting your own narrative. And so you can make a new, journal for your kids to write their own.
And I know you already said kind of what your expertise is, but I wanted to put up your page so that you can share a little bit of information of what you have going on in case anybody wants to dive a little deeper into navigating through what they're if they're dealing with anything with their kids. Or I'm gonna let you take the lead right now. And
thank you, Carissa. Thank you. So for those, like I said before, I'm a therapist of 15 years. The majority of my experience has been with teenagers. I was an educator also, and I've dealt with so many families. So I'm doing this class. This is a master class I'm doing. It's free. I didn't put the word free here, but it's free. And it's on June 2nd at 8 p.m. It's 7 p.m. my time because I'm in Texas. So this is a class for those of us. I originally, what the idea was for divorced parents because it's hard to navigate that. And I saw that a lot in my therapy room. I still see it. But it's also not just for divorced parents, but it's for parents in the same household that do not have the same point of view when it comes to parenting. There's arguments about what to do and how to do things for your children. So my sister, for example, it's bicultural marriage. So they have some different point of views and things like that. So I'm going to add some tips on how to navigate either having just different point of views in parenting, bicultural couples are separated or they're divorced, how to make the best out of your children and not put your children in the middle and not have them beside, because I see that a lot. So this is a free masterclass, going to be for 1 hour. I'm going to do some, like I said, I'm going to go through five tips and have 5 things to discuss when co-parenting, and then I'm going to have a little Q&A at the end. So if anybody wants to participate, there's a QR code that you can register. So you enter your name and your email, and then you'll get yes, and then you get an email with the Zoom link and all the instructions in there for June 2nd. Feel free to share with us a virtual event so we can have as many people as possible. So, and like I said, I'm doing it free. I'm just kind of sharing tips that because I see the teenagers hurt in my therapy room, and I just want them to be okay. And I know that they're going to be okay once the parents were equipped and we know what's going on with them and how we can help them because they're going through a crisis right now.
yes, well, we will also post this in our Facebook group as well. So if you don't download it here, we'll post the link in there. But I'm also going to share, if you want to learn more, anything, what, again, let you talk about it. This will take you.
Yeah, this is my website. So the QR code goes directly to my website where you have my master classes. You have my online course where I go in depth about how to communicate, connect, discipline, boundaries, giving freedom to teenagers and things like that. So I have a full online course on parenting teenagers. And like I said, that's my passion. That's my mission in life, to kind of advocate for the teenagers. And obviously I have Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube where you can follow me. And I do videos almost every day about tips of being a working mom, having demanding jobs, try to do it all, taking care of yourself with workouts and meal prepping and being a mom of teenagers. And yeah, so follow me there. And that's, like I said, that's my website and those are my socials.
I will
Awesome.
say I attended Sochi's masterclass last month because she's trying to get more consistent to do them monthly, and it was great. Again, as someone who's not a parent necessarily, but if you're a coach, if you're a mom if you're just someone who interacts with, kids a lot, and you're just looking for better ways to navigate conversations and to support, right, that younger generation, then she's definitely a really good one to follow. And there was so many concepts that she was going through in the class where I was like, I just had a conversation with this mom friend. I wish she was on right now. I'm like, I literally just had a conversation with this other mom friend and was listening to her complain about this thing that happened with her son. I wish she was on right now. And so you may not realize it because this isn't necessarily something that's as common to be in a space where you're talking about parenthood when your kids are older or even if they're younger, right? And I think it's a wonderful space that you tried to create, right? And that you are creating for just different parents. That it's not just moms, right? It's moms,
Oh yeah,
dads, like all
it's
of
for
the
mentors,
above.
coaches. Yes, yes, and
Yeah.
I'm a very practical person. I don't bombard you with a bunch of clinicals, fluff that you don't need. I go straight to the point. And Josie, I think you experienced that in that class. And like I said, I have a heart for teenagers. It's a different generation. We cannot think of raising teenagers the same way or interact with teenagers the same way that we did 20 years ago because they have so many other variables in their lives that are affecting their self-esteem, their ways of communication and things like that. So it's just us knowing as adults what to do and how to connect with them because what used to work for us, it's not working for them anymore.
I love it. And I will be on it because I am right there struggling. I'm on the struggle bus with the teen, not my son so much, but the daughter. So
Is she the
That's
second
intense.
one?
no, she's the first. She's the
The
oldest.
first? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
she's
they're literally back to back. So they're 18 months apart. So I think that's part of the challenge is you hit it on the head, the belonging part. Like she's struggling to figure out where she belongs in the family. And I don't know how to connect with her. So I will be there. I literally know that I need that in my life. And I hope anybody who does gets on as well because listen, there's no manual. It's like we are going through this every day blindfolded and just trying to do the best we can do. And just I've always said my goal is just to not raise a whole adults.
yeah,
Like that is my ultimate goal in
yeah,
life. And
yeah.
so
But
And
what if
keep them
we can
alive.
raise
Yeah.
adults they're assertive and that they're
that,
confident and so go above and beyond. And that's my type A personality. Like I have to go above and beyond. I have to be number one. But that's why I created my online course because I want the children, the teens to feel empowered and for the moms to feel confident in the way that they're raising their kids. And knowing that it's okay, I have to be very intentional with my time and it's okay to have a professional demanding job and it's okay to have the kids and show them exactly what to do. Like I said, and the kids don't have a manual, but that's my slogan for my online course. Like teenagers will come with a manual, but this is the next best thing. Because like I said, I've seen hundreds of teenagers in my therapy room, and I know what they're saying. And so like I said, I have a heart for them because being called an anxious generation. Mental health issues are on the rise and diagnosis and things like that, and they really need our support. And we just need to be a little bit more educated on how do we connect with them. And it's just like I want to learn how to crochet. Well, I go to a YouTube channel and I Google that and I kind of figure that out. But when it comes to teenagers, like we don't have to feel lost. Teenagers don't have to be difficult. Yes, there's difficulty in the age and the attitudes, but they don't have to be difficult for you. And so my online course is actually called Enjoy Parent Teens, because it can be an enjoyable time with the attitude and the eye rolling and everything.
Yeah, you hit it on the head though. We show up like we take courses on, I'm a realtor and I take all the courses that make me a better realtor. Like I am reading all the books, I'm doing all the things. I want to learn how to do something else. I take a class on it. But the most important job we've been given is being a parent. And instead of taking a course or reading books or doing those type of things, we listen to what this person's doing or compare to you know what I'm saying? So we are piecing together the most important job. And there are resources out there that can help us to navigate through it at the higher level.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm part of a lot of Facebook groups about, raising teenagers and things like that. And for me, it's like, please seek a professional. Like, don't get advice from somebody that has a completely different situation from you. And there's some questions that, yes, they can answer and things like that. But when it comes to like, is my daughter depressed because she's going through this? It's like, please go to a professional. Please go to somebody that knows that's going to take the whole picture. Not so Facebook groups sometimes is like, oh my gosh, it's so painful. But but we all doing what we can, and we're all doing our best. And so I know we all moms, we love our kids with everything in our hearts, and we're not doing anything, we want the best for them.
Yeah.
But the best for them, it's also the best for us to kind of get to learn those tools.
Exactly. And the fact that all of you showed up today to be on here shows that you are trying your best. So give yourself credit, give yourself grace, know that we're in this together. We're going to get through it together. Everybody's story is a little bit different. But you just set your own your own expectations, have those conversations, and don't be afraid to ask them how you need to show up for them, or they need to show up for you. Like, think about that. Like, where do you need a little bit of grace for them to show up for you?
Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure the ladies take away, everyone who's on, those who are watching on Facebook, right? Release some of that guilt, right? Release some of that mom guilt, release some of that, just what's been bred down on us from generations past. It's nothing, it's not their fault. It's what was bred down on them, right? But you really have to release some of that guilt. Just show up authentically and do your best, like the ladies were just saying, but also do your best for you, right? Don't make sure that you're trying to prioritize yourself. Like you heard it from Val, right? She's doing really well in certain ways for juggling like a badass realtor and a present mom, but she's the one that gets lost in the mix of that, right? And so what are the things that you're intentionally doing, whether it's weekly, at least monthly, right? Something you have to make sure you're taking some time, or like Carissa, like stealing back her morning and making herself a priority in the morning. Figure out what that might look like for you so that you're doing something for yourself. For me, it's getting my nails done every few weeks. Even if that's all I can squeeze in to do, I know that I have that appointment on the calendar, and that's something that's just for me, right? So just something that you are prioritizing yourself because you deserve it. You work hard and you deserve it.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for showing up, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.